Yo, what's up, everyone? So today we're studying Daf Yud Beis of Masechta Shabbos. Now we're going to start on Daf Yud Aleph Amud Beis. We got a little bit to do there. We got some stuff that we got about 10-15 lines to do on Yud Aleph Amud Beis. It gets a little complicated. I saved this for today just because I didn't want to get to this complicated stuff at the end of yesterday. So we're going to start it with it today. So it's a little bit complicated at the beginning for the first part of the daf, and then after that it's not super duper complicated. So let's just jump in. Yud Aleph Amud Beis, about 10-15 lines before the bottom of the page. Let's say it says Tani Chada Lo Yotze Azav B'Kisav V'Im Yotze Pater V'Al Aser V'Tanidach Lo Yotze V'Im Yotze Chayiv Chatas. Okay, so before we learn this Gemara, there are a few things that we have to understand. So let's start. There are three things. One of them is a zav. One of them is heter ochlin to hechsher ochlin to be able to makabel tuma, and the third one is melacha she'ein tzricha legufa. So let's go through these things one at a time. So zav. What is a zav? A zav is a man who sees some kind of emission. And it is not sperm. I don't know what it is, I'll tell you the truth, but it's not sperm. He sees something. Now, if he sees this stuff, this ziva, if he sees it twice, either twice in one day or twice over the course of 2 days, he becomes what's called a zav. And that is a zav she'eno gamur. Okay, and we'll get to a zav gamur in a minute. But he becomes what's called a zav. Now, a zav is an av hatuma, right? Same status as a zava, a nida, a metzora, somebody who touches a dead body, right? So those are all av hatumas. So, and he needs to wait basically 7 days without seeing any ziva, right? Once he becomes a zav, he has to be clean for 7 days. Once those 7 days are finished, he goes to, so he has to dip, so he dips he has to go to the mikvah, but actually, I just learned interestingly today that a zav doesn't go to there's two kinds of mikvahs, right? There are mikvahs the mikvah, like the community mikvah. So that is basically a gathered, pool of water that has 40 sa'ah of rainwater. That's one kind of mikvah. The other kind of mikvah is spring water, right? And you go in a spring or a stream, and that isn't rainwater. That's water that comes from the ground. So that is where the zav needs to go to. He specifically needs mayim chayim. But in any event, that's an implementation detail. But that is what a zav is, okay? Now, a zav gamur is a zav who has seen this ziva stuff 3 times, either over the course of 1 day, if he sees it 3 times, or if he sees it 3 times on 3 consecutive days, right? Within 3 consecutive days, without any days in between that didn't have any ziva. If he sees 3 times, right? So if he sees 3 times either on 1 day, or 3 times within 2 days, or 3 times within 3 days where he saw 1 on each day, 1 time each day, so that would make him a zav gamur. The only nafkamina between a zav she'eno gamur and a zav gamur is that a zav gamur needs to bring a korban at the end of his process as well. So, okay, so that is, I think I covered everything I needed to cover in terms of zav. Next, hechsher ochlin lekabel tuma. Basically, if you have food, right? So we've learned already that food is able to become tameh, right? I don't know if a person who's a rishon l'tuma touches food, that food becomes a sheni l'tuma. However, it only is mukhsher lekabel tuma. It's only able to be makabel tuma once it has come in contact with water once it's been harvested, right? Obviously, fruits and vegetables, as they're growing, they're gonna get rained on. But once they've been harvested, if, a rishon l'tuma would touch them, they would not become tameh. Once they come into contact with water, then they are then able to become tameh, even if the water is already dried. Meaning, once they come in contact with water once, from then on, they're able to become tameh. And we're gonna talk about some details of that soon. And finally, melacha she'ein tzricha legufa. A melacha she'ein tzricha legufa, as Rashi explains it, is a melacha that you really didn't want in the first place. So, for example, taking out a dead body on a bed to Rishus Harabim on Shabbos, right? Ideally, the person wouldn't have died in the first place, right? So, sure, it's a malacha, but it's a malacha that you really didn't want to be doing in the first place. It's a malacha she'ena tzricha legufa. Okay? So there's machlokas there between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. Are you chayiv for a malacha she'ena tzricha legufa or not? Rabbi Yehuda says yes, Rabbi Shimon says no. Zeu, without further ado, let's go into our very interesting sugya of the zav and his baggie. It's a funny little sugya. Basically, you have this zav, and a zav sees ziva. So now, once he sees ziva, he needs to basically tie this like baggy thing to his shmekel to see if he sees ziva again. And there are different nafkaminas, whether it's to tell the difference between if he saw ziva twice versus 3 times, or to make sure that he's got his 7 clean days, right? So what happens if he walks out from Rishus HaYachid into Rishus HaRabim with this baggy tied to his shmekel on Shabbos? So what a funny sugya. But that's our sugya today. So will he be chayiv for that? Because it's not derech hotzah. It's not the regular hotzah, right? Just like there was machlokas. If you have a tailor who takes out his needle when it's, like sewn into his, kind of stuck into his clothing, that's not the normal way to take something out. So, also the normal way to take something out is by taking it out in your hand, not something tied to you. So the question is, are you going to be chayiv for that or not? So, Tani Chada. So one brisa says, Lo yetze azav bekiso. So this, zav should not go out with this baggy thing. I don't know, I'm calling it baggy because I learned, I learned Shabbos with my chavrusa, like maybe 10 years ago. And we thought that this Gemara was kind of funny. And we always refer to it as the zav with his baggy. So I'm gonna continue to refer to it as the zav with his baggy for all time's sake. Anyways, so Tani Chada lo yotze azav bekiso. So one brisa says that the zav should not go out with this kis on Shabbos. Vim yotze pater avalasser. And if he does, so then he's not chayiv. Pater avalasser. V'tani idach lo yotze vim yotze chatas. And the other brisa says he shouldn't go out. And if he does go out with this kis, so then he will be chayiv achatas. Okay, so what's pshat? How do you define? How do you explain these two brises? So Rav Yosef lo kasha. Rav Yosef says it's no problem. Harab Meir, Harab Yehuda. If you remember from yesterday, we had Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir said that in the case where the tailor kind of sticks his needle into his clothing and walks into Rishus HaRabim, so Rabbi Meir says that he would be patur, because it's not derech hotzah. Derech hotzah would be to carry something in your hand, and he's not carrying it in his hand. Okay? Rabbi Yehuda says that he would be chayiv, because sure, it's not the normal way for a normal person to be motzi something, but it's not necessarily abnormal for a tailor to stick his needle into his clothing so that people see that he's a tailor and go out to Rishus HaRabim like that. So therefore it would be considered chayav achatas. So we'll say the same thing over here, that since the normal way to carry something is in your hand, so this zav, right, walking out with his kis that's attached to his shmekel, so he would be pater for that. Cool. So he would be pater for that because Rabbi Meir would say he would be pater for that because he's not carrying it with his hand. And Rabbi Yehuda says, and Rabbi Yehuda would say, well, just like, a tailor goes out with his needle tied into his clothing, well, this is the way that the zav goes out with his kis. So therefore, he would be chayiv. So that's what Rav Yosef wants to say. So Kasha, Harab Meir, Harab Yehuda, Amalei Abaye. So says Abaye. So Abaye said to Rav Yosef, Emer de Shamas le Rav Meir, b'midi de lav hainu orche, but b'midi de hainu orche mishamas le. Abaye says, Abaye says, Rav Yosef, we shouldn't be saying that this is the machlokas of Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, because while Rabbi Meir does say that when it comes to the tailor going out with his needle in his clothing, while he does say that he would be pater, that the tailor would be pater, because it's really not the normal way to take out a needle into Rishus HaRabim. The normal way, even for a tailor, the normal way to take out a needle in Rishus HaRabim is really to carry it in your hand. So therefore, when the tailor sticks it into his clothing, he's going to be pater, even though he might do it sometimes, but it's not the normal way, even for him, to go out into Rishus HaRabim. However, when it comes to the zav and his kis, this is the way, like, he's never going to carry this kis in his hand, right? Right? This is the way that this kis is carried. right? While it's tied to him. And therefore, Rabbi Meir would say that you would be chayav, even, right? The zav would be chayav for going out with his keys. Fine. So the ilote ma'achi, and you have to say it like this, because ela me'ata hedyot shechaka kav bebikas b'Shabbos. Right, let's say, right, so chakika, etching something into something else on Shabbos, which I guess is not allowed. So, I guess that there's a proper way to etch something, and then there's a sort of novice, amateur way to etch something. So let's say you have an amateur who etches something into a, piece of wood, just like a random piece of wood on Shabbos, which isn't the proper way to etch something, as you etch something on a proper piece of wood, I guess. So, with this hedyot, who isn't a professional etcher, and he etches something into this random piece of wood, is he going to be patur because it's not like the proper way of like etching? No. Of course he'd be chayav. Because even though he's not an expert, but this is how he does it. If he's going to etch, he's just going to like etch into some random thing. So therefore, of course he's going to be chayav, because while it might technically speaking not be the professional way to do it, but if this is how he does it, then it's chayav. So therefore also, in the case of otzah, we're going to say that even though the classic case of otzah, the regular way of otzah is to carry something out in your hand, well, if this zav, the way that to be motzi this kis, is when it's tied onto him, well then that's the normal way for otzah for this person, and he is going to be chayav. That, right? That's what Rabbi Meir would say. Right? El me'ata hedjot shechaka kav bebikas b'Shabbos Rabbi Meir, hachinami d'lo mechayev. Would Rabbi Meir say that he'd be patur for somebody who etches something into wood on Shabbos? No, of course he'd be chayav. And therefore also Rabbi Meir would say that the zav would also be chayav. Fine. Okay, well then how do you explain these two brises that seem to be, or that are definitely contradicting each other, right? One of them says that he's patur avalas, the other one says it's chayav a korban. So Ela Amar Rav Hamnuna lo kasha kan bizav bal shtei re'iyos kan bizav bal gimel re'iyos. So Rav Hamnuna says, no, the nafkamina is that one of the brises is talking about a zav who has seen ziva twice going out with this kiss, and the other brise is talking about a zav who has seen ziva 3 times going out with the kiss. Okay. Zav bal gimel re'iyos mai shna. Wait, what? I'm sorry. I read that wrong. Mai shna zav bal shtei re'iyos dechayev. Well, then the Gemara says, 1 second. So how come a zav who has seen shtei re'iyos, if he is motzi this kis on Shabbos, so we're saying that he would be chayav. How come? Because he needs it, right? Because he needs this kiss, because he's only seen ziva twice, and if he sees ziva a 3rd time, well then it'll become a zav gamur. So therefore, because the zav who saw ziva twice needs this kiss in order to be able to know if he has seen a 3rd time, in which case it'll be a zav gamor, and he'll have to bring a korban at the end of his ziva thing, of him being a zav. So therefore he needs the kiss, and because he needs it, that makes it derech hotzah, right? As opposed to a zav bal shalosh riyos, that he already knows he's a zav gamor, so he doesn't really need this kiss anymore, right? So if he goes out with this kiss, so because he doesn't need it, it's considered not derech hotzah, and because of that, he would be patur aval aser. But zav ba'al gimel nami mibayile l'svira. But the Gemara says, yeah, but 1 second, a zav who has seen ziva 3 times, he also needs the kiss. Because for 7 days, he needs to be clean. And in order for him to know if he's seen any ziva during these 7 days, he's going to have some kind of kiss, some kind of something he could see if there's any ziva in there. So, therefore, if it's Shabbos, and it's within these 7, days that the zav needs to be checking to see if he sees ziva, well, he also needs the kiss, and he should also be chayav for taking out this kiss. So, nitzurcha ela levo bayom. So the Gemara says, yeah, but the distinction between these two brises are mamish bo bayom, meaning it's Shabbos, and let's just say the zav today saw ziva 3 times today. So he's a zav gomer. So he knows that he's a zav gomer, so he doesn't need the kiss to tell him if he's a zav gomer or not, because he knows he saw ziva 3 times. And also he knows that today is not going to count as one of the clean days, because he already saw ziva 3 times today. So in this case, he really doesn't need the kiss anymore, because he knows everything that he needs to know as far as this day is concerned. So therefore, if he goes out with the kiss, it will be not considered tzorech, and it would be pater. But even so, he still needs the kiss because, he's not going to want to get his clothing dirty. Like he saw Ziva 3 times today. He might see it a 4th time. Like, of course he's going to need the kiss to make sure that his clothing doesn't get Ziva all over it. So Amar Reb Zera, Haitana, who de Amar kol atzulei tinuf lo kachashiv. So Reb Zera says, yeah, but this Tana who says that it would be pater, he would hold that something that is necessary just to make sure that, your clothing doesn't get dirty or something doesn't get ruined isn't considered significant. And that's why, going out with this kiss to make sure that his clothing doesn't get dirty, it would not be considered significant, and that's why it would be pater aval aser. The Tanan, as we learn in a Mishnah, hakofekaira ala kosel, right? So let's say it's raining outside, and a person takes out some kind of a bowl or something, and he flips it over onto a wall outside, and now the rain starts falling on this, bowl or something. So if he flipped over this bowl onto the wall so that it should get washed, well then if that's the case, then any water that sort of gets on the bowl, okay, and then maybe that water later on now I think that the bowl is flipped over, right? So I don't think it's receiving water so much, but I guess there might be still some water on it, right? Maybe there's some kind of indentation on the back of it as well, and some water got in it. But anyways, that's the way I understand it, at least. Maybe I'm not correct about that, but I think that's the way I understand it. Because he does say that he flipped it over. Anyways, so any water that then later on gets on some food, so it would be machshir that food to now be able to be makabel tumah. Because in order for it to be machshir, the food to be makabel tumah, you have to, right, what was the Rashi say? He says, right? In order for water to be machshir something makabel tumah, it has to be liratzon. You have to want that water, okay? And we're going to compare it in a second to to a situation where you don't want the water, okay? But in this case, he wanted the water to clean his pot or his bowl. And therefore, if that water that's now on the bowl somehow gets on food afterwards, that food will now be able to be makabel tumah, okay? Because you wanted the water. However, in bishvil shelo yilake akosel enu b'chiyutan. By the way, chiyutan is a pasuk that says v'chi yutan mayim al zera v'nafal min v'lasam alav tamehu lachem. That, right? The pasuk says that if some water gets on some seeds and then a sheretz falls on it, it'll become tameh, right? And that's where we learn out that that ochel needs to have water get on it in order for it to be able to then be makabel tumah. So, but if you put that bowl on the wall because you don't want the wall to get ruined by the water, so you're just like, oh gosh, it's raining. I wish I didn't even have this rain in the first place, okay? But it's raining and I want to protect my wall. I don't know, maybe it's drying. I don't know what it is. For whatever reason, I have to protect this wall. So I take this pot and I flip it over on the wall. And now, then later on, whatever water is on this pot now gets on some food. So we say that the food would not be muchshar l'kabel tumah, would still not be able to get, if a sheretz fell on the food, it wouldn't not become tameh because this water that fell on the food is not water that you wanted, right? If you had it your way, it wouldn't have rained in the first place, right? So because this is water that you didn't want, and it only came as a result of you flipping over this pot in order to save the wall from getting ruined, therefore this water is not considered chashuv, okay? So we want to say that just like in this case where you flipped over the pot just in order to prevent the wall from getting ruined, and we say that because of that, right, this water that resulted, right, this water that now got on the pot and then later gets on the food is not chashuv because it was only as part of this process of preventing something from getting ruined. So also here, by the kiss, if it's only there in order to prevent his clothing from getting ziva on them, it's not going to be considered chashuv. And if he goes out with this kiss, it's only going to be pater aval aser. But as some people might be thinking already, these cases really aren't so analogous, right? because in both cases, you really do want the kli. You might not want what's in the kli, but you do want the kli. And when it comes to the case of this kli that you're flipping over onto the wall, well, the flipping over that kli onto the wall is considered chashuv, is considered something that you actually care about because you're putting it there in order to save the wall. It's only the water that gets on the kli that you didn't care about, that you would have wished that they didn't come in the first place, is what we don't care about, right? And that's not going to be machshir the fruit to be able to makabel tumah. However, comparing it to our case, what is the thing that we care about in terms of otzah? The kiss itself, this kli itself, this kiss that is, receiving the ziva. And in this case, the kiss itself is going to be significant because you want it there in order to receive the ziva so that it doesn't get on your clothing. And therefore, we're going to say actually that it should be considered chashuv. And if you go out with it, even though it's only there to protect your clothing, the kiss itself would be chashuv. And therefore you should be chayev for taking it out. And that's what the Gemara says. Midami, you can't really compare the water not being significant to be machshir, food to be makabel tumah. You can't compare that to the kiss, that to prevent your clothing from getting dirty. Hasam lo kabaylu lahane mashkin klal. Over there, by this pot on the wall, you don't need the water at all, right? You don't want the water. You wished it wouldn't have rained in the first place. Whatever water got on this kli that you flipped over just in order to save the wall, you really don't care about this water. But here you need this kiss. You need it in order to receive the ziva so that your clothing doesn't get dirty. And if anything that you want to compare it to, if there's anything to compare it to, which I think that there really isn't anything to compare it to over here, because the water, really the only thing to compare it to would really be the kli itself that you're flipping over onto the wall, just like we're talking about the kiss itself over here. So the kli itself over there would be considered chashuv, right? Flipping that over, right? As Rashi, I believe, says, right? Over there he's saying that the flipping over the kli itself is chashuv because that's what's preventing the wall from getting dirty, right? So here also, this kiss is preventing your clothing from getting dirty. And really, right? And so really the mashkin, we really don't care about. But if anything, so compared to the seifa where the mashkin is actually going to be considered significant and then therefore be machshir food likabel tumah, right? Aludami ela the seifa, compared to the seifa where it says, areva shenatno shenisano sheyered delef lesocha, that if you put some kind of a bucket, I guess under like a drip in the roof maybe, right? So you put the bucket there, and this time you didn't flip it over. This time it was, in the opening facing upwards so that it can actually collect the water. So, Mayim anitazin vanitzafin, so any water that splashes out of that bucket or that overflows from the bucket, einon b'chiyutan. Any of that water, if that got on food, it would not be machshir the food likabel tumah. V'shebesocha, however, any water that is inside the bucket, harei zeh b'chiyutan, it would be machshir food likabel tumah if the water from inside the bucket got on the food. And Rashi explains because the fact that, I don't really get this, Rashi, but the fact that you sort of put it upright under the drip shows that in some way you care to collect the water, as opposed to, if you would flip it over, maybe to prevent it from getting on the floor or something. I don't know. But the fact that you're collecting this water inherently shows that you care about the water for whatever purpose, and therefore it would be machshir the food likabel tumah. Fine. It's the Gemara's way of saying, basically, don't compare hechsher ochlin to be makabel tumah to this kiss of the zav. They're just different, just apples and oranges, right? You're not going to be able to learn out anything for the kiss. So therefore, where are we left at? We're left at basically saying that this kiss, even if it's just to prevent his clothing from getting dirty, it's significant. And therefore you should be chayav for taking it out on Shabbos. So then how can we explain the brisa that says that you'd be pater, that the zav would be pater for taking out this kiss on Shabbos? So Abaye v'Rava damar tarvayu lo kasha Rabbi Yehuda v'Rabbi Shimon. So rather, Abaye and Rava both agree that no, the way to explain these two brises is that the one that says that your potter is Rabbi Shimon, and the one that says that your chayiv is Rabbi Yehuda, because Rabbi Yehuda says that amlacha she'ena tzricha legufa, such as this, right? Such as the zav taking out his kis, right? Such as the zav leaving his house and going to Shus Rabim with this kis that's tied to his shmekel because he doesn't want, because he doesn't want his clothing to get dirty, right? It's not an ideal situation. He would wish that he wasn't a zav in the first place and he wouldn't have to go out with this kis. And therefore it's a melacha she'ena tzricha legufa. Now Rabbi Yehuda says you're chayiv for melacha she'ena tzricha legufa, and that's why he would be the author of the brayse that says that he would be chayiv achatas. And Rabbi Shimon says that you're potter for melacha she'ena tzricha legufa, and therefore he says that you would be potter for if a zav goes out with this kis on Shabbos. Okay, we're over the hump. We're over the hard part now of the day. I hope you guys are alright. Tana Devei Rabbi Yishmael. Oh, we're starting the Besmedrash of Rabbi Yishmael. Yotze Adam b'tefillin be'erev Shabbos im chashecha. A person can go out with his tefillin, wearing his tefillin, on erev Shabbos, right before dark. My time, how come? Because Kevan dam Rabbi Bar Rav Huna. Because since Rabbi Bar Rav Huna said, Chayv Adam l'mashmesh b'tefillin kol shah v'shah, that a person always needs to be touching his tefillin. Kavachomer mitzitz, and we learned that out from a kavachomer from the tzitz. The tzitz was the gold plate that the Kohen Gadol would wear on his forehead that said Kodesh LaHashem. Matzitz she'ein bo ela azkara achas amar Torah vaya al mitzchot tamid shelo yasiach da'aytu mimenu. Right, the tzitz which only says Hashem's name one time. It says Kodesh LaHashem. It says Hashem's name one time, and yet it says v'haya al mitzchot tamid, that it will always be on his forehead, that he should never take his mind off of them. So I guess that he should be touching it often, or however, whatever he has to do to make sure that he never forgets it. Well then, tefillin sheish bayin azkaros harbe alachas kama v'chama. Therefore, tefillin that says God's name many times, well then certainly, he should make sure he doesn't forget that he's wearing tefillin. That's why he should be touching them all the time. And therefore, because he's always touching them all the time, hilkach madkar dachir lehu. Therefore, he will certainly remember that he's wearing his tefillin, and he will remember also to take them off before Shabbos. Tanya, we learn in a brayse. Chananya Omer, says the holy Chananya, Chayv Adam lemashmesh bevigdo erev Shabbos im chashecha. A person needs to check his pockets erev Shabbos, right before it gets dark, to make sure that you're not carrying anything in your pockets. Amr Rav Yosef Yochsa Rabasi l'Shabbos. And Rav Yosef says this is a very great halacha to prevent chilul Shabbos. Lo yifale eskelev chula. You shouldn't delouse your clothing. So it says, the Mishnah says, what does the Mishnah says? It says, Lo yifale es kelev v'lo yikra l'or haner. Do not delouse your clothing and do not read to the light of a candle. And the question is it do not delouse your clothing full stop, i.e. don't do it ever on Shabbos, and then don't read to the light of a candle, implying that you can read the next day to the light of the sun? Or is it saying that you should do neither delousing or reading to the light of a candle, implying that, but you can delouse the next day if you'd like? So let's find out. Ibayu, that's the kasha. Lo yifale eskela bayom shema yarog. Are we saying that you shouldn't delouse your clothing even during the day? Like you shouldn't do it the entire Shabbos, because lest you come to kill a louse. Rabbi Eliezer here, and that would be like Rabbi Eliezer, the Tanya. Rabbi Eliezer, hahorig kina b'Shabbos ke'ilu horig gamel. That as far as Rabbi Eliezer is concerned, if you kill a louse on Shabbos, it's as if you killed a camel. It's as if you really killed something on Shabbos, and you can't kill things on Shabbos, and therefore, you shouldn't be delousing your clothing at all, lest you come to kill a louse. And then, v'lo yikra l'or haner shema yateh. And then, you shouldn't read to candlelight, but if it's the next day and there's sunlight, you can read to sunlight. Or maybe both of them, it's saying you shouldn't delouse your clothing, nor should you read to candlelight, but you can do both of those things to the sunlight. Tashma, come in here. In Poland, ve'ein korin l'or haner. So we have a brayse that says that we don't delouse and we don't read to the light of a candle. Okay. Then the Gemara says, why are you wasting our time? That doesn't help us any more than our Mishnah helps us. You could still say, right, the same question. Is it ein polin full stop vein korin l'or haner, or is it ein polin vein korin l'or haner? Like, right? Are both of them to the light of a candle, or is only reading to the light of a candle, but Poland is never? So it's not clear from that brisa. Moving on. Tashma, coming here. In Poland l'or haner vein koren l'or haner. Boom. We have a brisa that says that you do not delouse to the light of a candle, and you do not read to the light of a candle. Ve'elu min ha'alachos she'amu ba'aliyas Chananya ben Chizkiah ben Garon. And these are from the halachis that they said in the loft of Chananya ben Chizkiah ben Garon. Shmamina de tarvayu shamayate shmamina. So we see that the concern for both reading and for delousing your clothing is that lest you come to tilt the candle to get more oil into the wick, and that is the concern. That's why we don't do either of those activities to the light of a candle. However, you would be permitted to delouse as well as to read, from the light, let's say natural sunlight. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, says Rav Yehuda in the name of Shmuel, Afilu lahavchin ben bigdo levigdei ishto. So it says Rav Yehuda in the name of Shmuel that you shouldn't even try to, use candlelight to distinguish between your clothing and your wife's clothing. Shemayate. Amar Rava, lo amaran ela de bnei mechoza. Rava says, but that is only for people who live in the city, because people who live in the city, they wear fancier clothing, wider sleeves, and they look, they're more similar to women's clothing. But people who live, so first of all, I'm not sure if Rava lived in a place called Machoza. So when he says Machoza, it might be talking about like the city that he lives in, which is called Machoza. Now, I don't know if the name of Chakla is a field. So I don't know if it's talking about, so I don't know if he's comparing city dwellers to people who live in, to like people who work the fields, like farmers, or if it's comparing people of Machoza to some place called Chaklisa where they were farmers. I'm not really sure. But in any event, the point is that in a place where people wear kind of where the clothes of men and women are similar enough that you actually need the candle light in order to distinguish between them. So then you shouldn't be distinguishing between the clothing in the candlelight, lest you come to lean it. But the people who are farmers, Meida Yada'e, they know the difference. You could tell the difference between men's clothing and women's clothing, because the men's clothing was tighter, and also short sleeves and things like that, because they were working in the fields. So it was much easier to distinguish, and you would be able to distinguish between the two candlelight. It's no problem. Udivnei Mechoza, and even for the people of Mechoza, Nami lo amaran eladiz kenos of Adiados made the idea, right? That would only, right, even for the people, the city dwellers who their clothing is more similar, it would only be usher to distinguish between them to the candlelight for the clothing of older women, because that was less baggy and it was closer to the clothing of the men. But younger women, their clothing was significantly baggier than or wider, or whatever it might be, than the clothing of the men, and therefore you'd be able to do that to candlelight as well, because it's easily distinguishable. Taner Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, in Poland b'rshus harabim pnei hakavod. Don't delouse your clothing in Rishus Harabim because it's disgusting. So it's just not nice that people have to see you doing that. Kayotzebo, and similarly, Amar Rabbi Yehuda v'Amrila Rabbi Nechemya, Rabbi Yehuda said, and some say it was Taka Rabbi Nechemya who said, in Osen apik devizin b'Rishus Harabim mipnei akavod. You don't drink some kind of potion that's going to make you vomit. Don't do that in Rishus Harabim, because it's not very nice to vomit in Rishus Harabim. Taner Rabbanan, Hamafala es kelav. Somebody who's delousing his clothing, Mola v'zorek, he's allowed to squeeze the louse into his finger, right, between his fingers in order to teach it a lesson so that it won't come back, v'zorek, and then throw it away, as long as you don't kill it, because we don't want you to kill it on Shabbos. Midirabanan, you shouldn't be killing it on Shabbos. But you can squeeze it and teach it a lesson and then throw it away. That's okay. Abishal omer nota v'zorek v'vat yimlo. Abishal says, no, you could remove the louse and throw it away, but don't squeeze it, lest you come to kill it. And he holds that killing a louse on Shabbos would be asur midoraisa, and therefore don't even take a chance with squeezing it. Ravuna says that you can squeeze the louse and throw it away, and this is really the best way to do it, even during the week, I guess, rather than kill it. Rabba mikateelu, Rav Sheshes mikateelu. Rabba and Rav Sheshes would both kill the louse. I think even on Shabbos. Yeah, even on Shabbos. Rava shdilahu likana demaya. Rava would throw it into some kind of container of water. I guess he would take it and throw it into some water. Fine. Amr lehu, Rav Nachman Levante. Rav Nachman said to his daughters, Ktolan, kill these buggers. Vashma'inan li kal de sanvasi. And I want to hear the sound of, I think like your combs that you're using to delouse your clothing. Like, no problem. You can get rid of the lice on Shabbos. Don't even worry about killing the things. Tanya, we're learning a brayso. Reb Shimon ben Elazar Omer, says the holy Reb Shimon ben Elazar, Ein horgan esam acholas b'Shabbos divrei Beis Shammai u'Beis matirin. Reb Shimon ben Elazar says that Beis Shammai says that you don't kill a louse on Shabbos, but Beis Hillel says that you may kill a louse on Shabbos. V'chein Reb Shimon ben Elazar Omer mishum Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. And similarly, Reb Shimon ben Elazar would say in the name of Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, Ein mishadchin es hatinokos le'ares, that you don't make shiduchim on Shabbos. Tinok lilamdo sefer, and you don't teach the children, svarim, okay, on Shabbos. Lilamdo umanus, or to teach them. I don't know what these svarim are. I mean, if it's Torah, then what would be the problem? I don't know. Maybe it's like how to read or something. I don't know. Lilamdo umanus. We don't teach kids a profession. Ve'menachmin avelim. And we don't console, we don't mourners on Shabbos. And we don't visit the sick on Shabbos. But Beis Hillel allows all of these things. Beis Hillel allows all these things. Rashi says because the pasuk says, it says on Shabbos you shouldn't do chefzecha, your own things, but chefzei shemaim are okay, and therefore I guess all these things would fall under chefzei shemaim. Visiting the sick, and I guess everything else as well. All those other things would fall under chefzei shemaim, and therefore it would be okay. Okay, fine. Cool. Tanu Rabbanan. Hanichnas levakar sachola b'Shabbos. Omer Shabbos yimilizak or refuah krovalavo. Oh, famous line. So somebody goes in to visit a sick person on Shabbos, so you should say that, it's Shabbos, and there's no reason to cry out on Shabbos. Your healing is close to come. Reb Meir Omer, Yechola hi sheterachim. Reb Meir says you say to the chola that Shabbos is able to have mercy on you and you will be healed. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Amakim Rachem Alecha v'Achol Yisrael. Rabbi Yehuda says that God will have mercy on you and on all of Israel, and on all the sick of Israel. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Amakim Rachem Alecha b'Soch Cholei Yisrael. Rabbi Yossi would say that God will have mercy upon you among the sick of Israel. Shevna Ish Yerushalayim, Shevna, the man of Jerusalem. B'chnisasa Omer Shalom. When he would go in to visit a sick person, he would say Shalom. Ubitziaso Omer, when he would leave, he would say, Shabbos yimilizak refuah krovalavo. It is Shabbos, therefore don't cry out on Shabbos. The healing is close in coming. V'rachmav merubin, and the Eibishter's mercy is very great. V'shabtu b'shalom, and rest in peace, but not like rest in peace because you're going to die, but like rest in peace because it's Shabbos and you should rest. Kaman azla had Amar Rabbi Chanina. Like whom does it go? That which Rabbi Chanina says. Like which of the Tanaim that we just mentioned above does the following statement of Rabbi Chanina fit? Somebody who has a sick person in his house, he needs to, include him with all of the sick of Israel when he prays for him. Come on, who's that like? Rabbi Yossi. It's like Rabbi Yossi who said, Hamakim Rachem Alecha b'soch Cholei Yisrael. V'amar Rabbi Chanina. And says Rabbi Chanina, "Bekoshi tir lenachem avelim levaka cholim b'Shabbos." That it was with difficulty they permitted to console mourners and to visit the sick on Shabbos because it's tsar, because it's not easy to do. But they permitted it because I guess it's also consolation to the mourner and it's helpful, uplifting to the sick person. Amar Rabbi Bar Bar Chana, says the holy Rabbi Bar Bar Chana, Kavazlinan Basi Rabbi Elazar. When we would go after Rabbi Elazar in order to visit the sick people, Zimnin Amar Amakom Yivkodcha. Although Atpach means to actually heal, right? If you remember from the Gemara in Brachos, Atpach Katina Charich Sake, right? Rabbi Zera, they said if Katina Charich Sake, if shorty burnt eyes gets healed. Right? So atpach actually means to heal. So it's interesting that they're calling tficha a sick person. It's almost like, they sometimes say when they're making the mishaberach for those who are not yet well. So they refer to like sick people as those who are not yet well. Well, maybe there's a makor for it in the Gemara, right? We're calling a sick person a tficha, and tficha is like to get well. So like maybe a person who's getting well. A sick person is a person who's getting well. Anyway, Zimnin Amar Amakum Yifkodcha L'Shalom. Sometimes Rabbi Lazar would say in Hebrew that the Eibishter should remember you in peace. V'Zimnin Amar, and sometimes he would say in Aramaic, Rachmana Yad Kirinach L'Shlam, right? That the Eibishter should remember you in peace. Same thing, but one's in Hebrew, one's in English. The Gemara wants to know, Heichi Avad Hachi. How could Rabbi Lazar say this little prayer in Aramaic? V'Amar Rav Yehuda, didn't Rav Yehuda say, La'olam al yishal adam tzachav b'lashon arami? That a person should not make requests, should not, submit prayers in Aramaic. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan, because Rabbi Yochanan said, Kol hashoel tzachav b'lashon arami in malachi asharis niskaken lo. That anybody who asks for his needs in Aramaic, the malachi asharis don't help him. And Rashi explains, in the Rashi of Deshchina Imo, it's in a different Rashi, but he explains what this means, right? Right? That the Malachi Asharis will help to bring his prayer behind God's curtain, right? So if you pray in Aramaic, the angels will not bring your prayer behind the curtain to God. Because angels don't understand Aramaic, interestingly enough. So why would Rabbi Lazar pray in Aramaic for this chola to get healed? Then he's missing out on the opportunity to have the angels help him out. So shiny chola the Shechina imo. It's actually different when it comes to chola because the Shechina is right above the head of a chola, and therefore he doesn't need the angels to bring his supplication to God. God's right here, and therefore he can just pray in Aramaic directly to God. The Amar of Anan, Amar Rav, that said of Anan in the name of Rav, Minayin sheshchina soedes achola. How do we know that the Shechina kind of nurses a chola, kind of is supporting and helping a chola? Shnei Amar, as the pasuk says, Hashem yisadenu al eretz divai, that the Eibishter will help him on his sickbed. Tani Amiyachi, we also learn in a brayso like this: Anichnas levaker sachole. Somebody who goes to visit a sick person, lo yeshiv lo agabe mitav lo agabe kise. You shouldn't sit down on a bed or on a chair, or basically on any place that will be higher than the sick person. Rather, you should wrap yourself in a talus and you should sit before him. What's that gimel? Probably agabi akarka, on the ground, because the Shechina is above the head of the chole. And if he's on a bed low down and you're sitting on a chair above him, you're basically sitting above the Shechina. So we don't want that. Therefore, sit on the floor in a talus. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, Hashem yisadenu al eretz divai, that the Eibishter will help him when he's on his sickbed. So we see that God is there. So you should take it seriously when you go to visit a sick person. How do you know that the Eibishter nourishes a sick person? Shneimar Hashem yisadenu al eretz divai, that the Eibishter nourishes him on his sickbed. Although we had in the Gemara in Brachas at the beginning of the 6th parak, we were making distinctions between Zan and So'ed. So why would we bring a proof that God is Zan as a chola from the fact that he's So'ed the chola? Those seem to be different things. It should be Minayin Shakadosh Baruch Hu So'ed as a chola. I don't know. I don't know the answer. V'lo'ikra l'oraner. And then we said that you should not read to candlelight on Shabbos. Amar Rabba, afilu gavoa shtei komos. Rabba says even if that candle is 2 stories high, do not read to its light. Afilu shtei mardaos, even 2 plow handles or something like that. Okay? Afilu asar batam zo agav zo, and even 10 houses, one on top of the other, and there's a little candle on top of it. Don't read to that light. And then Rashi says, because what does Rashi say? Rashi says, who said this? The Chevan the Gazer lo plug limusayu. Boom. That if the Chachamim said that we don't want you reading to the candlelight, it's a low plug. There's no, there's no exceptions. Don't read to candlelights even if it's 10 stories high. Chad hu delo likre hatre shapir dami. So the Gemara asks, 1 second, it says v'lo yikra la'oraner. Does that mean one person cannot read to candlelight, but if there are 2 people there, then they can? We have a brayso that says just like one person can't read to candlelight, also 2 people cannot read to candlelight. Amar Belazar lo kasha kan binyan echad kan b'shnei inyanim. Rabbi Lazar says there's no question. If they're learning two different things, right? Reuven's learning from his sefer and Shimon's learning from his sefer, so then they can't learn by candlelight because nobody's paying attention to the other person, so they might tilt the candle. However, if they're learning b'chavrusa and they're learning the same thing and they're conscious of what the other person is doing, then they can learn by candlelight, because if one of them goes to adjust the candle, the other one will say, hey buddy, that's not such a geshmaka thing to do right now. Amar Rav Huna, said Rav Huna, uvamendura afilu asar b'nei adam asar. And if it's a big bonfire and they're like sitting around spaced, with a lot of space between them, so then even 10 people would be usher to read to the light of the bonfire, because they're all spread out and they're not going to be paying attention so much, or they're not even going to see if the other one would try to adjust the light. Amar Rava, im adam chashavu mutter. Rava says that if he's a chashava mensch, then it would be mutter to read by candlelight, because he's not used to adjusting the candlelight, because he has servants doing it for him. So therefore he would be allowed to learn to the candlelight, because we're not concerned that he's actually going to tilt the candle, because he doesn't usually tilt candles. Meizvei, but we have a kasha, lo yikra le'ora ner shema yate. So the Brisa says, do not read to the light of a candle, lest you come to tilt it. Amar Rabbi Shema ben Elisha, and said Rabbi Shema ben Elisha. Rabbi Shema ben Elisha was pretty geschmack. Right, there was the Gemara, I think it was Brachos Daf Vav Amud Aleph, where it says that, right, he was the Kohen Gadol, I believe. And he said that one time he went in to be maktir Ketoras Lifnai V'Lifnim, and he saw God, right, and God asked him to bless him. That was one story. And there was another story in Brachos, and I think the 8th parak, I think it was maybe Nun Aleph, Mud Aleph or something like that, where he said that Suriel Sara Pnim, right, Suriel, like the internal messenger, the ministry of the internal whatever called minister, he told him don't, 3 things that not to do, right? Don't take your clothing from your shamish, from your servant in the morning, right? Things like that. Anyways, so he's an interesting cat. So he said, Rabbi Shema ben Elisha, ani ekra v'lo ate. And he figured, you know what? Okay, I see. The whole point of not reading to candlelight is so I don't lean the candle. Well, I'll read to the candlelight and I won't lean the candle. Pamachas karu vikesh la'atos. And one time he was taka reading by the candlelight, because he knew better. Amar kam, right, and he had an urge to tilt the candle. And he said, wow. Amar kama gedolim divrei chachamim shayu omrim lo yikra le'or haner. And he said, how amazing are the words of the chacham who said, don't read to the light of a candle lest you come to tilt it, because even I, Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha, who was so confident that I would never come to tilt the candle, I was about to tilt it. Rabbi Nassan says this over slightly differently, and he says, Kara Vihita, that Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha actually read by the candlelight, and he actually tilted the candle. V'chasav al pinkaso, and then he made a note for himself in his little diary, in his notebook, Ani Yishmael ben Elisha, I Yishmael ben Elisha, Karisi v'itesiner b'Shabbos, I read and I tilted the candle on Shabbos, L'chsheibana Beis HaMikdash, when the Beis HaMikdash will be rebuilt, which is interesting, because he was the Kohen Gadol. I guess he lived through the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, and then he was saying that when the Beis HaMikdash will be rebuilt, Avi chata shmena, I'll bring a fat korban chatas. Wow. Amr Rabbi Abba, Shiny Rabbi Shema ben Elisha, Ho lumeis ma'atzma divrei Torah kehedjot. No, so the kasha was, how could we say that an Adam Chashuv would be allowed to read Le'or Haner if we just saw this whole thing about Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha was clearly an Adam Chashuv, and how he was about to tilt the candle, and therefore we see that it should be forbidden even for Adam Chashuv people. Or according to one opinion, he actually did tilt the candle. So, Rabbi Abba said, yeah, but Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha is different because he made himself like a hedjot when it came to he made himself just like a regular person when it came to Divrei Torah, even though clearly he was an Adam Chashuv. And therefore that's why he was, saying, that's why he wouldn't, or he shouldn't, read by candlelight, but just a different Adam Chashuv who, even when it comes to Divrei Torah, I guess he treats himself like an Adam Chashuv, then he would be allowed to, I guess, because he would have a servant doing it for him. Fine. Tani Chada, one brisa teaches, Shamish bodek kosos v'kairos le'or haner. One brisa says that a servant is allowed to wash and check cups and bowls to candlelight in order to make sure that they are clean and there's nothing there that shouldn't be there when he's serving his master. V'tani idach lo yivdok, and the other brisa says that he shouldn't check to candlelight. Lo kasha kam b'shamish kavua kam b'shamish eno kavua. So the Gemara says it depends. If it's a shamish kavua, if it's a servant that is like a regular servant for this master, so then he should not do it. He should not check these cups and bowls to the light of the candle, because since he's scared of his master, and he's really going to want to make sure that there's nothing in these bowls and cups that would be bad. I don't know, maybe some kind of bug or something like that. So he's going to be tempted to tilt the candle in order to check them better. But if it's a shamish who's not kavua, maybe this is like the only time that he's ever going to be serving, he's just checking the cups and stuff. He's not invested as much. He doesn't care as much. And therefore, maybe he doesn't really care if he gets rehired or not, whatever. It's random. So therefore, he's not going to be as likely to tilt the candle in order to see better. Or you could say that, no, both prices are talking about a shamish kavua, a regular shamish. Right? It depends. If the fuel is oil, then he will be more likely to tilt it. But if it's neft, if it's nafta, some kind of, I guess, oil that smells bad, so he's not going to really want to endure the bad smell in order to tilt it, so he's less likely to tilt it, and therefore would be okay. What if you have a shamish who is not kavua and it's dealing with oil, right? We just said that a shamish kavua shouldn't check the dishes by oil because he might be tempted to adjust the candle to get a better light. But what about if it's a shamish she'eno kavua, who we're less concerned that he's going to clean it as, feel the need to clean it as well because he doesn't have as much fear of his master? Can he use a oil light? So Amar Rav halacha ve'ein morin kain. So Rav said the halacha, technically speaking, is yes, he can use a regular oil light, but we don't tell him that. If he comes to ask, hey, I'm shamish she'eno kavua, can I use a mishcha light? We would say no. But technically speaking, if he did it, it would be, if he checked to that oil light, it would be okay. But we just, as Rashi says, we don't tell it, we don't paskin to say it's okay because we don't want people to be mezalzel, the halacha of not reading to a candlelight or take it lightly. For Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba Amar halacha umorin kain. Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba said, no, this is the halacha, that a shamish she'eno kavua would be allowed to check the dishes to the candlelight, to oil, this mishcha light. And we can even paskin that way. Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba ikla levei Rav Asi, and Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba once visited Rav Asi's house. Kam shame kabadik linahora d'shraga, and then Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba's attendant, who in this case was considered like a shamish she'eno kavua because doesn't normally check glasses and dishes in Rav Asi's house because he's Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba's servant, and he was checking to the oil light. So, okay, and that's like Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba, who says that that's the halacha, umorin kain, and you're allowed, right, that a shamish is allowed to check to the oil light. Amrle devisu. So Rav Asi's wife said to him, Umarlo avrachi. He said, wait, but we don't do this. We don't have our shamish she'eno kavua check to this oil light. Amalei shavke krabe svirle. Right? So Rav Asi said, don't worry about it. His attendant is just doing like his master, Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba, who says that you would be allowed to, that a shamish she'eno kavua is allowed to check to the light of oil. And we will stop with that. Wow. Shkayach, everybody. Yeah, today's daf was like kind of interesting. There was that patch that was a little bit complicated with all the zav and tuma and all that kind of stuff. But the rest of it was kind of cool, dealing with like checking stuff to candlelight and visiting cholim on Shabbos, which is really interesting. Praying in Aramaic, pretty cool. So, yeah. I hope Sachakol you guys enjoyed. Have a great day. Peace.